Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting of November 8, 2010. Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Allen. Dixon.
Here.
Gibbons.
Here.
Hannon.
Present.
Harrison.
Present.
McLean.
Here.
Mowry.
Here.
O'Brien.
Present.
Pate. 7 present.
7 members present. At this time, could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just one announcement before we get into the agenda. Last month we appointed a new member of council, Jim McLean from Ward 7. I'd like to welcome Mr. McLean to council, and if you'd like to say a few words.
I will. Thank you very much. And I will be brief, because I know brevity is a virtue, especially on the night that the Steelers are playing. But I wanted to thank council for the appointment. I know there were a lot of very well-qualified candidates, and I appreciate the confidence they've shown in me, and hope that I can measure up to the expectations. I want to thank Mayor Morton for swearing me in and making all this official. And I also just want to let all the citizens, but in particular the residents of the 7th Ward, know that I'm here to serve you. And my contact information is on the website. It'll be in the BP Chronicles that you receive next. And please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Email, drop me a line, leave me a message, and I'll do everything I can to address your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. And you get 3 minutes, I think, to speak. Okay, at this time I'd like to turn to chair announcements. An executive session of council was conducted on October 25th, 2010 to discuss personnel issues and real estate issues and legal issues. And tonight, before we came out, November 8th, 2010, we had executive session of council to conduct personnel issues, real estate issues, and a legal issue. At this time I'd like to return to the reports of the official and librarian's report. Okay, having none tonight, can we turn to Chief Mackey and the police chief's report?
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. Good evening, everyone. I have a couple of items this evening. The first one, I just wanted to offer a special thank you to the Giant Eagle down on Route 88. They donated all the candy that the police officers gave out on Halloween night. Also for the 2 events that we participated in, one down at the South Park Shops and the other one at South Hills Village. So it was very nice of them to donate all the candy, and we really appreciate it. And speaking of Halloween, I'm extremely happy to announce that we had another non-eventful Halloween. We had great weather, a lot of kids were out there. Everybody was safe. We received no complaints, so that's always a good thing. I've been asked to address an issue that we, both the police department and I'm sure council members, frequently get asked questions about soliciting in the municipality. Let me first state that religious and charitable organizations that promote the public good like clean water and clean air, they are not required to have a solicitor's permit. In some instances, we do, however, issue a permit to them. There's no fee for it, but we still want them to have something in their possession that shows that they are out in the community. I brought a copy of one of the permits. And the reason I brought this is to show everyone that as a resident or a business person, you certainly have the right to ask somebody that comes knocking at your door to show their solicitor's permit. And if they don't have one or they refuse to show it, then we encourage you to call the police department. Everyone who's issued a solicitor's permit, their information is on file with the police department. So we issue a permit. It has the date that the permit was issued and when it expires. Also has a permit number, and we attach a photograph. Okay, so the hours for solicitation, first of all, there's no soliciting on Sundays in the municipality. On Saturday, people are permitted to solicit from 10 a.m. till noon, and during the week, it's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I know some people are mistakenly under the impression that people can solicit from dusk till dawn, and that's not true, or dawn to dusk. Did I get that right? Dawn to dusk, yeah. And that's not true. It is 4 p.m. That is the limit. Most recently, we had, and this is for people who go door to door and are trying to sell goods or services. We don't issue permits to the high school kids selling band hoagies. And again, the religious and charitable, they're not required to have a permit. But anytime somebody calls and asks us what the permit regulations are, we encourage them to come in and we will still issue the permit so that you can feel safe. If you ask for it and they show you, you know in your minds that they have registered with the police department. And if you ever have any questions regarding a solicitor or their permit or whether or not they should be on our streets going door to door, please give us a call. 412-833-2000. I mentioned last month that the Bethel Park Police Pals food drive is underway. Actually, it starts, we start anytime, accepting donations, but the dates are November 29th through December 15th. Last year, we donated 219 boxes of food to needy families in Bethel Park. This year, we're shooting for 250. One aspect of the program that we typically don't advertise as part of the food drive is the Adopt a Family program. What we do is we accept donations from individuals and businesses who essentially adopt one of our families. And if we have a business or an individual that's interested, they contact the police department, and we keep the families and who they are and their names in the strictest of confidence. We don't give that information out. But when the donations come in, we know where to direct the funds. Last year we had 4 families. This year we're projecting that we're going to need help for 12 of our neighbors. Currently we have a couple donations, and I would like to recognize those people. The Best Buy here in Bethel Park Rotary, the Bonnie Keppel family, and the Officer Tom Regatty family. And I especially wanted to recognize the Marine Corps League South Hills Detachment, number 726. They were in this morning. They wanted to come tonight and present a check, but they have other duties to fulfill, and they donated $500 this morning, and that will go to a needy family. Now, we're not saying that we expect everybody to give $500, but what we will do is accept donations. We will put packages together, for example, food items and gift cards and that type of thing. And if we have the smaller donations, we'll put it all together, and then we'll distribute it to the families that are adopted. So if anybody could help out, we would sincerely appreciate your help. If anybody has any questions about the program, please feel free to call Officer Tom Regatty, and his number is 412-831-6800, extension 104. Just a reminder that we are accepting applications again for the Citizens Police Academy and the LEAP program for high school students. The program begins in January, and it will run for 10 consecutive weeks. We already have 20 people signed up for the Citizens Academy, and we're still accepting applications. So if anybody out there is interested, please check in with the police department. You can also go online, and there's an application for both programs on our website. Finally, another reminder for the Swift Reach Emergency Notification Program. If you have a listed telephone number you are automatically a part of the program unless you choose to opt out. If you do not have a listed number and you want to be part of the program, please give us a call. You can also go online and fill out your information, and once it's verified, you'll become part of the program. You can leave us your unlisted telephone number or a cell phone number, and would be more than happy to get you involved in the Swift Reach program, which again will notify you in case there's an emergency anywhere in Bethel Park, particularly in your neighborhoods. And that is my report for this evening.
Thank you very much, Chief. Any discussion? Hearing none, can we turn to the Fire Chief's report?
Good evening. My name is Dave Gerber. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief at the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company. I'm going to read you the Fire Chief's report from the month of October. In the month of October, the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company ran 26 fire calls. We had one fire that was in the woods, one vehicle extrication from a motor vehicle accident, 6 service calls, two service calls, 6 hazardous condition calls. I apologize. 9 false fire alarms and 7 false carbon monoxide alarms. Being that it's the time of the month, we just turned our clocks back over the last weekend. Good reminder, if you have any smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors in your house that require batteries in them, this is a perfect time to change them. We suggest that every time you change the clocks back, which is twice a year, that you change the batteries in them. It's always a good thing. Keep you safe with both carbon monoxide and the smoke detectors. Also, it's a good time to remember if your smoke detectors are getting old, we recommend that you replace your smoke detectors every 10 years or so. The sensors tend to start getting old. They tend to go bad after 10 years or so as far as the smoke detectors. Carbon monoxide detectors, we recommend you replace them every 5 years. Once again, this is a good time to do it while you're changing the batteries. Go ahead and, if you have detectors that are getting old, go ahead and replace them. If you don't know how old they are, a lot of times you take them down when you go to change the batteries. If you look at the back, the manufacturer date will be stamped or printed on the back. It'll give you an idea of how old they are. It'll normally tell you the month and the year that they were built. So if you have any questions, you're always more than welcome also to call down the fire station, and we'll be able to answer any questions you have. And if we can't, we will get the answers for you. Also, we would like to remind residents, I know it's that time of the year when the leaves fall down and everything. The borough does provide a service where they pick up leaves. They have a leaf collection that happens. I ain't going to lie to you, I don't know how often it is. But we have a lot of people that are burning their leaves and stuff. I come up here every month, give you a little spiel about small recreational fires. A small recreational fire is not burning your leaves and stuff. A small recreational fire is in one of those little pits or stands that you can throw some wood in, burn, cook a couple hot dogs and stuff. Not a big pile that you're burning leaves and stuff out of and whatnot. So once again, reminder, don't be burning your leaves and stuff. Buy a pack of the leaf bags, put the leaves in the bag, set them up by the curb, and the garbage will take them for you. Other than that, one more thing real quick, just a reminder, donations and stuff are down this year for the fire department. If you are interested in donating, you haven't donated yet this year to us, if you go on to our website, which is bethelparkvfc.com, you can donate right on the website. If you're not capable of getting onto the internet, whatever, you just want to send a donation in, you can send a donation into 5213 Brightwood Road, and that's Bethel Park, Pennsylvania 15102, and that'll get it down to the main station, and we will take care of that. Other than that, that's all I have for this evening. Questions? Comments?
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Hearing none, thank you very much. Can we turn to the mayor's report? And Mayor Morton.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you out this evening, and hello to everybody out there in television country. We've got 2 or 3 things on the menu tonight, so we're going to go along quickly here. Our birthday group for this month is a little bit long, but we do wish a happy birthday to our plus 90-year-olds, and they are John Icamini, who is 91. Lois Manning is 92. Cecilia Spurnack is 92. Gladys Wilkes is 92. And Bernice Dale is 96 this month. Julie Altapita is 94. Elsie Juskowicz is 92. Rita Abbott is 92. A lot of 92s. What was going on that year? Rita Abbott, I mentioned. Ed Fassel is 93. Doesn't look like it. Jean Shannon is 93. And our two oldest ones this evening are Bernice Webster and Pauline Carroll, both 98 years old this year. So we wish them all a very, very happy birthday. There's one more birthday this month. That's this Wednesday. The group is 235 years old. It's the Marine Corps' birthday. So this week on the 10th is the Marine Corps birthday. They're 235 years old. And by the way, I did vote for that $500. I want you guys to know that. They won't let me vote here on anything. So when I get a chance to vote, I vote. All right.
It's yes.
We have a special guest with us tonight. I'm going to ask her to come up now, if you would, to Kay. Kay Stepp is the executive director of a group from over at, the name of the church is Assembly of God. Yes, thank you, Assembly of God. I knew that. The project is Compassion Connection, and Kay would like to speak to us tonight a little bit about that. It's a special Christmas program that the church is sponsoring, and we'll let her explain it to you.
Hi there. I love Christmas. I already put my Christmas scarf on tonight. I love Christmas. I love the decorations, and I love everything about it. But there are some families in our community that are looking at Christmas with a little bit of dread because they don't have a very Merry Christmas to look forward to. I had a man come into my office today, actually. He has 4 children, ages 3 through 8, and he just lost his job. He looked at Christmas as a very bleak time, but fortunately, because of a project that we have going through Compassion Connection, Toy Treasures, we're able to help them with Christmas gifts this Christmas. And you will find boxes around in the community. We have 30 different collection sites and businesses, and you'll see these little posters on those boxes, and we're collecting toys for needy children in the area. Last year, we gave out Christmas gifts to 412 children in the South Hills area, and we're looking toward even more this year. So you may wonder, what can I do to help out? Well, you can drop off toys at one of those collection sites, and as you're shopping for toys for your family or friends, then pick up an extra one. Maybe it's one that your grandchildren would enjoy, or maybe it's one that your children would enjoy. Pick up an extra toy and put it in one of those collection boxes, and then they will be sorted. If you want to make a monetary donation, you can also do that. You can do it online at www.compassionconnectioninc, that's inc.org, and you can make a donation there. You say, what do you do with the money? We fill in the gaps. Wherever there's children that are registered and we don't have as many toys in that particular area, we want them to have a good selection, so we purchase toys for that purpose. Now, this is a little bit different than most of the toy distributions because the parents actually come and shop, and they pay 10% of the retail value of the toy. Now, we use that money to purchase more toys, but we believe that we need to affirm the parents' dignity. So instead of our organization, Compassion Connection, giving them their toys to the children, we let the parents shop. The parents then have the gifts wrapped right there on the site. We put them in big garbage bags. They take them home, put them under their Christmas tree, and the parents give the toys to the children. So we affirm the parents' dignity in that way. And it's a little bit different, but we feel this is a good way of doing it. Like this father that came in today, this is the first time he has ever been in this circumstance, to not have, to be able to provide Christmas for his children this year. And that's a difficult place to be for families. But maybe you want to be involved. Maybe you'd like to help with the sorting of the toys. It's a big job. We sort the toys by ages and by sex and by the price of the toys and that kind of thing. And we also then, the distribution day, which is December 11, we will be handing out the toys that day, and it's my favorite event of the entire year. And I want to give you just one story because that happened last year. There was a mother and a son who walked in. The distribution day was a blizzardy day, and they walked in, and they were both just snow covered. And so I looked down at the little boy and I said, "Have you been out playing in the snow?" And he looked up at his mother a bit puzzled, and she said to us, "No, we've walked a long way." They had walked almost a mile from the T, but that's how desperately she wanted to provide Christmas for her son. So she shopped he looked at me and he said, "Do you have some place that I can dry off my mittens?" I said, "Absolutely." So we found a place that he could get his mittens dry while he drank hot chocolate and ate cookies, and his mother shopped for the toys. But when she was having them gift wrapped, she looked at the people who were gift wrapping the toys with tears in her eyes, and she said, "Thank you for doing this. If it weren't for Toy Treasures, I would not have Christmas for my son this year." So someone took them back to the T, and they were warm and dry going back to the T, but our hearts were warm as we were able to bless this family. And this represents many other families that we were able to bless. So again, thank you. If you're able to get involved, we'd love to have you involved. And you can give us a call at 412-835-8900, extension 104, or the website that I mentioned, and you can contact us that way. And we'd love to have you involved. God bless you.
Thank you, Kate. These pastors have a way of making your eyes water up a little bit once in a while. Thank you, Kate. That was very nice. At this time, we have another special thing we're going to do tonight. Let me get rid of a couple of these things. I would like to call up now brother of our recipient of a special proclamation tonight. His name is John Walsh. John, would you come up, please? Would also like to ask the committee from the memorial to come up also. There should be 3 or 4 of you. And Laurel, I almost forgot you. Come up. This is almost an apology. This is something that happened a number of years ago, and just by the circumstances of this young man, we never got really properly recognized for what happened to him in his life. And even though it's a number of years later, we felt strongly enough, and thanks to Mark O'Brien and the committee for the memorial outside, who were trying to track down people like this that we haven't recognized and find others who should be on our memorial out there. And so this is special tonight. And Lauren is here to do a proclamation for State Representative Matt Smith. Yes, thank you. Why don't you just go ahead and do that right now?
Thank you, and on behalf of Representative Matt Smith and our office staff, we wanted to thank any other veterans that are here tonight as well, since we're coming up on Veterans Day. We were contacted by the committee to look into finding any veterans from Bethel Park and to try and get them recognized, and ran into some difficulty. We had been working with Congressman Tim Murphy's office, and they've been very helpful, and so kind of going back and forth between our offices and the committee, we were able to finally get somewhere with finding names on the wall, the Vietnam Memorial. So I'm going to read some of the House of and I'll just read the a portion of it. Now, therefore, the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania pays tribute to Lance Corporal Jeffrey Michael Walsh, a cherished and respected man who will always be revered and remembered for making the ultimate sacrifice to further the cause of peace and freedom throughout the world, and directs that a copy of this citation, sponsored by the Honorable Matt Smith on November 8, 2010, will be transmitted to the family of Lance Corporal Jeffrey Michael Walsh.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, make your presentation. Yeah, there you go. You can stay up here. Now, we'll go on with the proclamation. We have also one from the municipality. Marine Lance Corporal Jeffrey Michael Walsh, December 30, 1948, February 8, 1968. Whereas Jeffrey Michael Walsh was born on December 30th, 1948, to John D. and Ann Catherine Walsh of Dormont, Pennsylvania, and whereas Jeffrey is the brother of John Walsh, who we have here, also had a brother, Jim, and a sister, Jerry Rago. And whereas as a child, Jeffrey was nicknamed Weed by his brother John. And whereas in 1963, Jeffrey moved to Bethel Park with his sister Jerry, and he attended Bethel Park High School. And whereas on July 20, 1967, Jeffrey started his tour of duty with the United States Marine Corps, achieved the rank of Lance Corporal in the 1st Battalion, 9th Marine Division. And whereas Marine Lance Corporal Jeffrey Michael Walsh served in the province of Quang Tri, South Vietnam, and after serving our nation for 7 months, and at the age of 19, Lance Corporal Walsh was killed in the line of duty on February 8, 1968. Whereas Lance Corporal Walsh was laid to rest at the Queen of Heaven Cemetery in Peters Township, Pennsylvania, and whereas Lance Corporal Walsh is now being honored for his bravery and his dedication to his country and the residents of Bethel Park. Now therefore, I, as the Mayor of Bethel Park, hereby proclaim Monday, November 8, 2010, as a day of memory for Lance Corporal Jeffrey Walsh in the municipality of Bethel Park, and call upon all citizens to remember and honor him, as well as the other veterans that we're going to be honoring on the 11th of this month. In testimony whereof, I have set my hand and caused to be affixed the Great Seal of the municipality of Bethel Park this 8th day of November, 2010. And John, this is yours also. Take that home. And at this time, does anybody from the committee have anything to say? Yes.
I'd like to say that this is a long time coming. And John and I talked on the phone, talked with Sister Jerry. The committee has been dedicated to trying to find those missing. This was a young man who was killed in the Vietnam War that was forgotten over 40 years ago. And we were kind of excited that we found him. And it was almost like divine intervention. We were down, Timothy and I and Jim were down at the dedication for Murph's volleyball. We ran into Lauren. And Matt introduced us, and Lauren says, I'd love to help with this. I just really would, trying to find these lost soldiers. And we got, within weeks, Lauren contacted me. She was excited that she finally found somebody from Bethel Park. And we were all excited. And then I brought it here to the committee. I brought it here to council and made the announcement. And one of Jerry's friends was flipping through the channels and heard my plea, does anyone know who Jeffrey Michael Walsh is? And he said, well, my wife's girlfriend had a brother who was killed in Vietnam, and I think he was from Bethel Park. She contacted me. I contacted John. It's history. It was just absolutely unbelievable how quickly this happened. And it's Jeffrey's time. It just really is his time to be recognized. And as for the committee, his name will be put on the memorial for Memorial Day, a star placed to his name, and we will do a service for your family and for Jeffrey on Memorial Day. And every Memorial Day from here on in Bethel Park, his name will be read as one of our fallen heroes. Okay.
Okay. John has written a poem. In fact, you did this some time ago, did you not? Go right ahead and talk about it and do it.
I actually wrote this poem while my brother was in Vietnam before he was killed, and it's entitled A Soldier's Prayer. It matters not who is rich or poor, if men are only men. No, it matters not who is rich or poor, if dead, what are we then? For what reason must we die like this, myself or the enemy? Yes, for what reason must we die like this? Myself I cannot see. I may not live for another day in tasks that I pursue. No, I may not live for another day to see a dream come true. To have a world where men are free to live and learn together. To have a world where men are free to live in peace forever.
Amen.
Amen to that.
Thank you, John. Beautiful. Thank you again. Did you get a chance to say that, John? Yeah, thanks, guys. That's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mayor. If we can turn to the approval of the minutes, and Mr. Hannon.
I move that we approve the regular council meeting minutes of October 11th, 2010.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, that we approve the regular council meeting minutes of October 11, 2010. Any discussion of this item? Excuse me, Mr. Spagno, would you please call the roll?
Dixon,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Abstain.
Mowry,
Yes.
Pate, O'Brien.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion passes 6-1. 6-0-1. Mr. Hannon.
Next is a public hearing of October 25th. I move that we approve the minutes of the public hearing of October 25th, 2010, the 2011 municipal budget.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, that we approve the minutes of the public hearing of October 25th, 2010, the 2011 municipal budget. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagno, would you please call the roll?
Givens,
Yes.
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Mowry,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Dixon. Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. This time I'd like to turn to the approval of the bills and payrolls, and Mr. Hannon.
I move that we approve the bills and payrolls of the municipality per bill list number 110810 in the amount of $2,998,544.85.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, to approve the bills and payrolls for the municipality per bill list number 110810 in the amount of $2,998,544.85. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagno, would you please call the roll?
Hannon,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Mowry,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Dixon. Yes. Givens.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. This time I'd like to turn to the resident comment section for non-agenda items. Anybody would like to say anything? I'd like to come up to the microphone and state their name and address. Okay, hearing none, can we turn to general policy and I'm sorry. If you, yes. If you're going to give your name and address, and there is a 3-minute limit. At the end of 2 minutes, Mr. Spagno will signal.
Christine Whitman, 562 Rolling Green Drive. I wanted to come tonight and bring a couple of items to your attention and also the residents of Bethel Park. I have been unsuccessful in my attempts to get signs posted in South Park about the deer hunt. I received approval from the Game Commission and Whitetail Management that they would be posted by last week. They are not posted yet. And I feel it's a safety issue. I also feel that anyone who walks in the park, and I'm only concerned with South Park, but I know there's other parks where there's hunting. I would like to see signs posted so anyone who is in the park knows that it's taking place. Secondly, it has come to my attention that there are some municipalities that are no longer using Whitetail Management. The reason for this is Whitetail has recruited some younger members, and they are only interested in killing bucks. So Whitetail has made the requirement that you must kill a doe first before you kill a buck, and then another doe before you kill another buck. There are still does, I know in South Park, I'm in the park several times a week. There are does that still have young. And I know that once the doe is killed, the fawns will struggle to survive and probably won't survive the winter. I'm looking to you for maybe some help here. I don't know. I have spoken before about the hunt. Obviously, I'm not for it. But I would like to see a little bit more involvement so that the residents know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could ask the chief if we can check if we're supposed to post to make sure the signs are posted. And number two, if you could ask if any of their policies have changed with regard to what the requirements are for a hunter. To our understanding, nothing's changed, but we will look into it. Thank you. Are there any other residents who would like to speak? Hearing none, can we turn to General Policy and Finance and Mr. Hannon?
Okay, we have 3 items tonight. The first item is the ordinance for the 2011 real estate tax rate. I move that we approve the ordinance fixing the tax rate for real estate taxes at 2.18 mils for the fiscal year 2011 for the municipality of Bethel Park.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, that we approve the ordinance fixing the tax rate for real estate taxes at 2.18 mils for the fiscal year 2011 for the municipality of Bethel Park. Any discussion on this item? Mr. Spagno, would you please call the roll?
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Mowry?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
7-0.
Motion passes 7-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next item is an ordinance establishing membership categories and fees for the use of the Bethel Park Community Center gymnasium and walking track. I move that we approve the ordinance establishing membership categories and fees for the use of the Bethel Park Community Center gymnasium and walking track.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, that we approve the ordinance establishing membership categories and fees for the use of the Bethel Park Community Center gymnasium and walking track. At this time, I'd like to ask the assistant manager, Mrs. Miller, if she could give a brief overview of what this is. This is something that we've talked about for a couple months now, and the bottom line is with the increased usage by Bethel out-of-town people, we have decided to enact a membership fee to the people to come in to use the gym and the walking track. And Mrs. Miller, could you give an overview?
Well, and I think that really is it. Due to the popularity and excessive use of the facility, council and staff felt it was prudent to establish a membership program. Minimal fees for residents and reasonable fees for non-residents will help to defray some of the additional maintenance expense associated with the use of just the gym and the walking track. So the rest of the facility can still be used without having a membership. The senior, the adult lounge, the youth lounge, the game room for the kids. So what we will do, though, is next month we will have a demonstration of the process that you will go through to get a membership card and how the membership card will work at the facility once you arrive. So I think it's going to be a very user-friendly, it's definitely very cost-friendly, especially to residents and even to non-residents when you compare it to other facilities that you could join. I think everybody will find that the membership fees are extremely reasonable.
Yeah, I believe our goal is to have this up and running the first of the year.
Yes, but what we'll do is there are annual memberships that will go for 12 months, and if you don't feel that you want it to buy for an entire year, you could just come in for the day and pay $1 to use those, either the gym or the walking track. So again, it's very reasonable.
Yeah, just a real quick overview for Bethel Park residents. Membership, these are all yearly costs. For youth, $5, adult, $10, a family would be $25, seniors would be $5, and you will also, as a member, be able to buy a guest pass for 5 passes. The cost would be $4. And some will be included. Yeah, and some will be included with your membership, and the fees are a little bit higher for non-residents. So it's, I guess it's a good thing we're having a lot of people using it. That's been one of the meetings we had probably 2 months ago when we had more people here for that meeting to discuss it than we've had for a lot of things that we've talked about in the past. Is there any other discussion of this item?
Mr. Barney.
Mr. Harrison.
When can people register? When can they get their card? I mean, this won't take effect. It's an ordinance for a month, but then Mr. Murray said we're planning on implementing it the first of the year. So are we going to have the period in December? Is the administrative work going to be done so people can start applying?
Actually, the system, the card system, has come in to process that. We're also in the process of trying to establish a means by which residents can come in and pay by debit card or credit card, which I think is very important. A lot of people don't carry cash or checks these days. So we are going to try to have the month of December, have it up beginning in December at some point, so that we'll post it so that residents will know that it's coming. It's going to be in the Chronicles. But then we'll also have the facility posted so that people, as they come in and start to use it during those winter months, they will see that beginning January 1st, this membership program will be in place, and ask them that, that they need to purchase.
I have one other question. Just if for whatever reason somebody didn't become aware of it or didn't take advantage of December, are we going to have maybe what I'd call sort of a grace period? Somebody walks in January the 3rd and they want to use the facility and you said, oh, you have to be registered, and they say, I didn't bring any money with me or credit card. It seems to me we probably need a little period there to allow that to happen.
Absolutely. Yes, I believe really for the first month that it's in place, we will tell residents, look, you need to come back. Maybe if you could give us your name and address, and to try to keep track. But yes, we would have a grace period probably for the whole month of January, and then it's mandatory come February.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion on this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
McLean?
Yes.
Mowry?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Mr. Hannon.
Third item is the ordinance establishing the year 2011 budget. I move that we approve the ordinance enacting the year 2011 budget for the municipality of Bethel Park.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, that we approve the ordinance enacting the 2011 budget for the municipality of Bethel Park. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. Murray?
Mr. Harrison.
I'm going to vote against the budget again this year, as I did last year. And if the history of this board is any indication of the future actions, I would expect to be verbally trashed by you and possibly others, as happened last year. But that's okay because it gets people's attention and helps to make the point. In 2009, this governing body increased the three items that provide most of the funds for the general fund, and that's the real estate tax, the earned income tax, and the local service tax. And at that time, for you folks who follow what we do up here, there was a lot of chatter from this dais, started patting ourselves on the back, saying that we hadn't raised taxes for many years, and that's true, we hadn't. And so one could reasonably expect that the time has come. In 2009, then we raised those three taxes, and the actual increase in the money brought in the first year was over $1 million. And there was a fund called the reserve as a percent of total expenditures, commonly called the rainy day fund. And because of that increase in taxes, the percentage was 8.02. In other words, in our reserve fund, we had a little over 8% of funds. In 2010, the year we're in now, and the reason I spoke to it last year, we transferred a considerable amount of that rainy day funds to balance the general fund, and so the rainy day fund went down to 5.9%. In the budget before us now, we're transferring money to balance the general fund, and the rainy day fund is projected to go down to 4.3%. That's less than we've typically over the years maintained, and I think generally is recommended. So my concern is that for the budget for 2012, we are going to have to raise taxes again unless the economy gets significantly better. And I don't read anywhere where people think it's going to get better next year and maybe for a few years. thing that the reason I mentioned the staff is that I want to mention the staff that we have an excellent staff. Many of them are here in the chamber, and they do a very professional job of running the day in, day out government. All the tasks that have to be done because the public wants something done or it needs to be done, so on and so forth. So I'm very complimentary of the staff. But the way they operate the municipality is obviously at the direction of the governing body, us guys up here. And the feedback I get when I say, what are we going to do about the fact that we may have to increase taxes again this short period, is that we have a very nice community, we have very nice services, and if we try to cut any of them, it's going to be deleterious to the community. And I'm not for sure that's true. So for the last few years, I have suggested to council that they direct the staff to look at all the expenditures that we do. They're the ones that are most familiar with it day in and day out. And make a list for us of things that we could consider either eliminating or reducing the amount of, and start out with ones that have the least or no impact on the community and worked out. I suggest that the staff does that because, as I say, they're the people that run the municipality day in and day out, and they're most familiar with it. That council chooses not to do that, and therefore the staff doesn't do it, rightfully so. They get their direction from the governing body. So what I'm suggesting to the public is that if you feel that the community and all the services we have are necessary and may result in a tax increase next year, then wonderful. If you think maybe we ought to try to trim a few things and maybe not have to increase taxes next year, then I simply suggest that you take the opportunity to talk to your council members. I'll just tell you, it turns out, I think from the discussions we had up here, I probably get more phone calls than most people that are on council. Or that may be because I've been around a long time, people know me or whatever. But I also represent an area that had lots of, it's one of the old mining towns, a lot of the older properties, less well-off people. And a lot of those folks are really worried about being able to maintain their residence. And what happens, even if they stay, they don't have the money, so they don't keep their property up, and that tends to lower the image of the community. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. O'Brien.
I think we have done it. Each of us who has been here quite a long time know what we have in front of us, what this budget is, what we are faced with. This staff has done a fabulous job of identifying things to cut. We are as bare bones as we can. We have eliminated a position. We eliminated a lot of different things. We are as lean as we have ever been. And we all know what the next step is. To sit here and suggest that we didn't actually go through this budget and make a list, we all know where we're at right now. We're at cutting services. And we are at that line. And to just throw it out there because you don't want to be responsible for it, that's irresponsible. We all know, every councilman here except for Mr. McLean knows exactly where we're at in this budget. And the staff went through this budget, each department, and they trimmed things that they even thought was necessary to uphold the service. But they're willing to do it because people are hurting. We've held the line. And yes, our reserves are down. We know. We don't need a rocket scientist to figure it out. No one does. The economy's down, revenues are down, and we're trying to hold the line and maintain the services that we have. I think this is a good budget. I think that we can operate. Council has to learn to say no. We've always been very generous in trying to do little things for people across this community as much as we can, to the sports groups or fields or whatever. Those answers this year are no, because we don't have the money. And to sit here and suggest that we should make this list, you know where it is. You know where we're at. You know what the next step is. And we're all very nervous about taking the next step, because we know what the next step is, cutting into services. And I don't know if this community is ready for that, because this community operates very well. The staff operates very well. They expect certain things when the snow, the police department, the dispatch downstairs for emergencies. We are there. And that's the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mowry.
Mr. Hannon.
Actually, I agree with about half of what Mr. Harrison said. Yeah, we're borrowing from our reserves to balance the budget. There's no question about it. And to keep the tax rates the way they are for another year, we're doing that. Because face it, the only way we get revenue is from the earned income tax, the business privilege tax, which is the $52 tax, and we get from property taxes. We haven't raised property taxes, as Mr. Harrison said, for 3 years. And the assessments haven't been raised, so that's been a fixed number. The issue is how much municipal services can you provide? And at some point, you start talking about eliminating whole departments, potentially. And we tend to run a fairly, as Mr. O'Brien said, we tend to run a fairly lean operation. We don't have a lot of fat. We don't have a lot, but there's things that are thrust upon us. For instance, 1/30 of your budget is your garbage collection. That's something we write a check for every month. We don't have anything to do with it other than bidding out a contract. So when those contracted rates go up, we pay the higher rate. We don't raise your taxes every year that the rate goes up, but those rates go up every year. Our fuel costs go up. Just like you pay on your gas and your natural gas to heat your buildings, we have buildings to heat, and those go up every year. So all these increases are not kept up with because we have some reserves of the rainy day fund which what we use. Again, it's tight, and should we probably have raised things a little bit this year to make next year's increase potentially a little less onerous? Potentially, but we can always hope something will come in. We can always hope that there'll be a large property transfer that gives us hundreds of thousands of dollars that we didn't have budgeted, but that hasn't happened for like the last 7 years. So it's there's only a few other ways we get money in here, and mostly because when people work, they pay their taxes, we get revenue to pay our people to clean the streets in the wintertime, to patch the roads, to spend $800,000 in resurfacing roads every year. So those kind of things, yeah, we can cut back on those. But are we wasting your future money by doing that? And that's the kind of decision that has to be made, that it's made at this table, that is not always the easiest thing to do. Because we have to maintain the infrastructure we have. Otherwise, if we let it go, yeah, everybody be nice and happy and no low taxes, but within 5 years, everything will fall apart. Then you'd be spending 3 times as much money to get it back to where it was. So you have to spend money as long as it's prudent. I think, as Mark said, and both Don said, we have a great staff, and no question about it. They do amazing things with very little resources at some points, and sometimes they get the crap whenever it doesn't work as right, but they also should be praised when they do things right, and they do. So it's a tough thing to do. It's a tough situation. Nobody likes to sit up here and, hey, we all pay taxes too. We're not like doing this because we get some kind of statistical pleasure out of it. At some point, we're going to have to do that again because we have requirements for our pensions for our employees, for our future employees. Those kind of things come due. We have to pay them. And if they're not budgeted, some of those things get state funding. The state funding gets cut. Guess what? Bills have to be paid. So that's sort of where we're at. And nobody likes to paint a less rosy picture because it's not. But it's workable. The staff has made it workable through their hard work, and made our job a lot easier being on council because, I mean, there's been significant amount of cuts from the first run through the budget that we saw. I mean, there's been $500,000 or so cut out of that budget. So staff does work at things. There's things that, I mean, we used to give $5,000 a year to the Montour Trail. That's gone because we can't afford it. It's one of those things that the niceties that it's a nice thing to have. The guys do great work, but we just can't afford it. So it's one of those things we possibly in the future, as things shake out, maybe we can afford it in the future, but not right now. We pay a nice check every month to support the library. That's we've kept them at the same level as they were last year without any increase, which is the first time in probably 6 or 7 years they didn't get an increase in their subsidy from us. And so those are the things that your taxes pay that have stayed the same, and those of you who are retired don't pay wage tax, so you only pay their property taxes, hopefully, to allow us to operate the things that we think are the mainstay of this community. And I think it's not a great budget, but it's tight, but I think it's workable. And next year is another story, so don't be surprised next year if things are a little different, because we can't print money. We're not the federal government. We don't print money. We have to get it from somewhere. And as I said, as Mark said, we're running a very tight ship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hannon. Okay, at this time I'd like to make a few comments, Mr. Hannon. Short of repeating what Mr. Hannon and Mr. O'Brien said, we did spend a lot of time, contrary to what some people say. Staff, as Jim said, cut over $500,000 before it came to us. We cut a couple $100,000. We eliminated a position. And it really comes down to making a decision on what we want to do. Mr. Harrison likes to refer to the, not getting the list and sending it back to staff and coming up with a list and what it would cost. And same thing every year. But let me tell you what happened at the meeting that Mr. Harrison did attend. We talked about cutting Community Day, the 4th of July fireworks, closing the community center, reducing number of the street lights or the hours, elimination of a crime prevention officer, reducing the road program, redirecting budget for snow removal, reducing allocation to the library, reducing the overall capital budget, our trucks and cars and equipment, or even the Memorial Day parade. And Mr. Harrison sat silent. That's where we're down to in this budget. It's down to these things that we believe, the majority of this council hopefully believes that this is adopted, that we think that the community expects. And to be able to sit up here every year after year and say, hey, they're going to raise taxes, they're going to raise taxes. You know what? Someday we may. It's not our goal. We've tried to be frugal. We get quarterly reviews. I know, and when Mr. Harrison comes to these meetings, he likes to bring props and put phone numbers up. So I just thought it would be interesting to put up everything that Mr. Harrison suggested we cut from the budget. And as you can see, he can come up here and talk and say a lot of things, but he's not willing to do and make the tough decisions we need to make on some of the programs we talked about. It's not a perfect budget. It doesn't end tonight with the vote. We get, as I said earlier, a quarterly update from our finance director. We get monthly reports. Because it's in the budget doesn't mean we're going to spend it. We will reevaluate, like I said, at the end of the first quarter. And if we're ahead, that's great on revenues. If we're behind, then we're going to look to make some additional cuts. But it's going to be tight. It's not going to be easy. As Mr. Bryan said, it's going to be a year or no for us. But it's a budget I think that we can live with. It's within our means, within a reasonable amount of reserves. Thank you.
Any additional item? Any councilman like to speak? Mr. Spagman, please read the roll.
Mowry?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
No.
McLean?
Yes.
6-1.
Motion passes 6-1, Mr. Hannon.
We have no further items on our general policy and finance, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hannon. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to planning and zoning and Mr. Dixon?
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. We have one item under planning and zoning this evening, an ordinance providing for a columbarium as a permitted use or a permitted accessory to churches and permitted cemeteries. I move that we approve the ordinance to provide for a columbarium as a permitted accessory use to churches and to permitted cemeteries.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, that we approve the ordinance to provide for a columbarium as a permitted accessory use to churches and to permitted cemeteries. Any discussion on this item?
Mr. Murray.
Mr. Harrison.
I'll show my ignorance and say that when we got into this, I did not know what a columbarium is, and I suspect maybe a lot of people don't know, so maybe we get Mr. Duke at least to tell us what they expect to find in this municipality.
Mr. Duke.
Sure. A columbarium is basically a place for the placement of ashes, human remains. It's either going to be within a separate structure on the property, or it could be actually within the church itself. The petition was received from one of the churches within Bethel Park to consider this. We had not have a provision in our ordinance to allow it, and this ordinance is to allow, under certain restrictions, to have this be permitted with churches and cemeteries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Duke. Any other discussion?
I will say that there was a significant amount of discussion and research that went into this ordinance, surprisingly a lot.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
O'Brien.
Yes.
Nixon.
Yes.
Givens.
Yes.
Hannon.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
McLean.
Yes.
Mauer.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Mr. Dixon.
That's all we have under planning and zoning this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to health, safety, and welfare? And Mr. Hannon.
We have no agenda items on our health, safety, and welfare, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hannon. Any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to public works and maintenance? And Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. There are no items under Public Works and Maintenance, although I do have an announcement.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes, the Bethel Park Veterans Memorial Committee is having a fundraiser to try and raise some money to go to the maintenance of the memorial. And there are these fancy little handbags that say sacrifice is meaningless without remembrance. In the Bethel Park Veterans Memorial, they come in black, blue, and green, and they're $5. They can be purchased from any Veterans Memorial Committee member, or they could probably be purchased in the library. They'll be over there. So please contact us if you'd like them. They're quite nice gifts for Christmas. Also, too, I'd just like to thank our staff for helping with the Jeffrey Michael Walsh. They pitched in and did a really great job of keeping all the information and keeping me posted of all the new things that were found. So our staff does deserve a lot of credit in that, as they should always. So that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Any additional items?
I'd like to ask Mr. O'Brien a question.
Yes.
The colors of the bags, would that be black for the Army, blue for Coast Guard and Navy, and green for the Marines, maybe?
I don't think that much thought went into it.
But it works. I think the green's for the Irish.
Well, fib a little bit.
If you ever attended one of our Veterans Memorial meetings, I don't remember how we put the colors.
I don't recall.
If you have 20 Marines in a room, you never know what's going to come up. You just say yes.
I would like to just suggest everybody, Thursday, the 11th is Veterans Day. If you please keep that in mind all day. If you see a veteran, shake his hand and say thank you. The sacrifice that our veterans have given us is just invaluable, and they continue to do that to this day in every corner of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Any additional items?
Move we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Hey, Mr.